Welcome back to the 1211 podcast, where we believe that sharing your story is a path to victory. Revelation 12:11 says, "They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." We created this space because we've seen firsthand how telling your God story brings freedom, not just to you, but to others listening. Every week, we sit down with someone who's walked through real struggles and found real hope and real freedom in Jesus.
Today, we're talking with Matt Broadrick. His story is one of redemption, surrender, and freedom. Matt grew up in a home where addiction and mental illness were part of everyday life. At 10 years old, he was adopted by his grandparents, who gave him everything he could have wanted. But even that didn't fill the void. By 16, Matt had started using, which led to over 20 years of addiction. He'll share with us how God sat him down through incarceration multiple times, but it was in his most recent stint behind bars that he fully surrendered his life to Christ, and everything has changed since.
Before we dive into your story, Matt, let's start with something fun. We do this with every guest, a 10-question rapid-fire round. Just answer the first thing that comes to your mind. Do not overthink it like I overthink.
Okay. And Matt, we think it's fun, but I'm not sure our guests do. So just full disclosure.
Okay, gotcha.
We thought, this will be an easy way to ease into it. Then everybody says, that's the part I'm most scared about. I'm like, don't be scared. Okay. So what's your go-to coffee order? That's assuming you're a coffee drinker.
I am. White chocolate mocha is probably my go-to.
That's Jason's favorite too.
I don't know if that's been an answer yet.
I don't think we've heard that.
Really? Okay.
No, it's funny because we have one particular coffee shop who their name keeps getting mentioned on here, and it's the same drink from everyone.
Oh, really?
So white chocolate. You stirred things up a little bit tonight.
Very good. If you could go back to the past or teleport to the future, which would it be and why?
Ooh. I would probably go back to the past. Be able to spend some more time with some loved ones I've lost.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't appreciate the time we have when we have it, do we?
We don't. No.
Yeah. That would be one of my things too. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh goodness. Probably Remember the Titans.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one.
Very good. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Or neither?
Neither.
That's my favorite answer.
Neither. I mean, I get up not really that early, 6:30, but yeah, if I could be able to wake up at like 9 every morning, that would be nice. But yeah, so I like a good. I like to sleep in on the days I'm able to, for sure. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you go to bed early?
I try to about 10. Yeah. So it's kind of early. Yeah. I wish I could make myself go to bed earlier though, for sure.
Yeah. I'm struggling with that. So what's one thing, or it could be one person, but one thing that always makes you laugh?
You said a person. So Josh Cantrell, he's the director of operations at BTB. Dude's a comedian. Like anytime you're in a room with him, he's going to make you laugh. I remember when I first met him, it was more just like, this guy's really corny. And then after a while, it's like, man, this guy's actually really funny. So he's something, he always lightens the mood. And so whenever I'm around him, I'm usually laughing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that in our family is really high on the list of like qualities that we appreciate about people, or like people that make you laugh. And my girls, I knew both of them were like, I have to find someone who makes me laugh, because their dad makes them laugh every single day. And so I knew that would be a quality that they would have to have in a guy, someone that would make them laugh. Can't take life too seriously.
That's exactly right.
If you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm trying to think about that one. That one threw me off.
Some people say,
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But then, why do you need to be invisible, right? Like, what are you trying to get away with?
My daughter said she wanted to be invisible so she could eavesdrop more.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
What would you choose, Tabitha?
I honestly don't know. Invisibility seems cool.
It does seem cool.
I don't know why maybe to play tricks on people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's probably, that's a good one.
What's your favorite worship song right now?
Ooh, probably Spirit Lead Me.
Oh, yeah.
It's one I've known for a while, but it just, every day I see myself playing it multiple times while I'm mowing. So, because it's just a good one, man. I used to rely on my emotions for a long time. And that's a good reminder to not follow your emotions, but follow the Spirit. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite one.
Okay. Very good.
If you could meet any Bible character other than Jesus, who would it be and why?
Probably Joseph.
Mm.
Just to see that kind of just persistence and the endurance that he had, like that's something I strive to work on in my daily life. And I would love to hear the stories of how he kept going in the times that a lot of us would have gave up, so yeah, definitely be Joseph. Yeah.
That's cool. A day at the beach or a hike in the mountains?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Probably a hike in the mountains. Yeah. That's something that, for one, you don't leave with the sand on you. Yeah. Sand and everything. Right. Yeah. But no, I love being out in nature, and I love, of course, being born and raised in Tennessee. I obviously love the mountains. So yeah, probably a hike in the mountains for sure.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice that you've been given that has been very important to you?
Go easy on yourself. Probably a good one. I'm my worst critic when it comes to things and hold myself to a certain standard. So it's just to be able to just be easy on yourself, to know that we all have faults, we're all flawed, but just to continue to strive for excellence, but just knowing that you're going to fall short at times.
Why do we do that to ourselves? Because God doesn't even do that to us.
I know.
A few years ago, that was, you know how people like do a word for the year? Grace was my word for the year. And the Lord really started speaking into my heart, like, Jennifer, you, in order to be a person who gives grace, you have to be willing to really, truly receive grace. He's like, and it's saying that you're too hard on it. Like, you don't even give yourself grace, right? And so sometimes it's easier for us to give grace to others than it is for us to give grace to ourselves. And to really receive the grace that God wants to give us. It's sometimes I think we stand in the way of that as well. So, well, thanks for playing along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. So we're going to just get into your story, because that's what our listeners want to hear, and we want you to share that with them. So for anyone who's listening today who doesn't know you, I want you to take us back to the beginning. Just tell us, who is Matt Broadrick? What was life like growing up? What were maybe some of those early pivotal moments for you? Yeah, just share with us.
So when I share my story, I have a tale of two childhoods. So I was, my biological parents, one struggled with addiction, one had mental illness, manic bipolar, and undiagnosed as well. So really struggled as a kid. Didn't really know my worth as a kid. I kind of felt like I was always the reason they were fighting, even though it was, because the bills weren't getting paid, because the money was getting spent on drugs and alcohol. But I remember thinking that my dad was a musician, and I remember thinking at a young age, like, I don't want to be in a relationship like this. But then I would see how they were on the weekend when they would have parties at the house, right? And so everybody was drinking, having a good time. Everybody was smiling, having a good time. And so it was kind of like a blurred perception of they're having such a great time, but then during the week it's a living hell, so to speak, right? Like, it was always just a lot of chaos. I remember being very young and walking in with my mother with a knife to her wrist one time, right? So I remember thinking that, I knew it wasn't all me, but at the same time, I couldn't comprehend what was so bad, right? And so it was really tough during those years. Luckily I had godly grandparents that stepped in, which was my mother's parents. And so I started staying with them way before I was adopted. I started staying with them off and on. I remember there was a payphone back when payphones were around, right? Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I would get in the couch and get changed, and I would call them and say, hey, they're fighting again. Can you come get me? And they always would. So it's really just how things kind of switched. So I guess kind of backing up a little bit, like my first drink was at like 6 or 7 years old. Wow. It was one of those things where, I snuck some out of the refrigerator, but I remember there being times at these parties, like I would just ask for a sip of their beer and they'd give it to me, just really no regard for, So,
well, it's normal for you, because you saw the adults in your life all the time, and like you said, you associated that with a good time. Like, that's what you do to have a good time, right?
Absolutely. And I remember thinking, like, before I even knew what a generational curse was, I remember thinking at a young age, like, I don't want to be like this. Sure. Like, I see they're having fun, but also saw the destruction that was coming from it. And which I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. What was I say? So they adopted me, took me out of that. I played sports growing up, excelled at sports, excelled in school as well. I was a very good student.
What were your sports?
Football, baseball, and basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was something that, I think that was kind of, I was trying to fill a void even from a young age, right? And that was a great way to do that. So whenever I was adopted, my name got me in church, good old Southern Baptist church. And, and I'm grateful for that, that church, because it really did introduce me to Jesus. I was very active in the youth group. Pastor Eddie Ware, was very instrumental, during those years. And, but I remember thinking like there was still something where, in school, whenever you're kind of the popular group and a jock, there's almost like an expectation to do some partying, right? So I'd already tested out when I was younger, so I knew the good times that could come from it. And I remember being probably 14, 15, drinking with the guys after a football game or something like that. It was just very sociable for a long time. Very, very sociable. But then, of course, I was at church every Sunday. I was at all the youth group activities and events and stuff. So it was really, I learned how to have two lives at a young age, pretty much, which is a very deadly, dangerous and deadly place to be whenever you're able to kind of be a chameleon, so to speak. So great. After I was adopted, it was really a great childhood. Like I said, excelled in high school, went off to college, UT Chattanooga, to play football. And, everything was going great. It's almost like when I went off to college, though, I kind of left all what I knew about Jesus behind. Like, it was like, let me see what the world has to offer. And that was just when it really started, I guess, when I got to college. So. Well, see, that's the that's the thing. So I went to play. I got injured during spring practice, and that's whenever that's probably whenever the drug use, because I was prescribed pain medication, and that was the thing where it started off just for pain, and then the next thing like I'm searching for it on the street after my prescription ran out, and so that was kind of the beginning of the end when it comes to, social drinking. Getting high socially to full blown, like, let's do this every day. Like, this is, and the whole time it was like, really, I didn't know what my identity was. That was the biggest thing, is I suffered from my identity crisis pretty much my whole life. Like, it's been, it was sports there for a while. That's what my identity was in. And then college was my identity. And then, of course, after that, getting a good corporate job and stuff like that. But yeah, just, I just thought that, it's crazy. I had a mindset like everybody was high or drunk on something, because how else could you go through this life, and how else could you deal with all these things, and not knowing that it all went back to just the trauma I had as a child. Like, it was something that I was still trying to cope with. Right. I was an adult now, but I'd never had learned how to deal with it or try to heal from it or anything like that.
Yeah. So that was, that happened near college, that you said it kind of really spiraled. Did you finish college, or did that interrupt that?
It interrupted that, yeah. So, really, a good job offer interrupted it, right? Because when you're living that kind of lifestyle, you have to have the means. Exactly. Yeah. So I got a great job with T-Mobile, and within the call center, and I moved up really quickly and excelled in it. And so, it was something where I was like, well, in order to keep this up, because you can only ask for so much money from your parents while you're in college, right? You're already, and so I was like, I got to find a job to keep supporting my habits, and so then that came along, and that's whenever I, college.
What did most of your family, do any of your family know about these struggles that were going on, or did you, like your grandparents, did they have any idea that you were struggling in this way, or were you able to kind of just, like you said, keep living that double life?
That double life, yeah. No, they didn't know for a long time. I was very high functioning. Yeah. Very high functioning.
Obviously, if you're climbing the ladder of success.
Yes. Yeah. And under the influence of something the entire time, pretty much. So yeah, I was able to keep it from them. I got my first DUI when I was 20. I was back home visiting, and I had gotten a DUI. So I think that was the first thing which they knew I drank some.
Sure.
But they didn't know about the smoking and the pills at the time. So even then, though, like, I went through probation without any hitch. I went through it all. I did all my community service, and so they just thought I made a mistake, but they still didn't know living in a different city and being able to come back and visit here and there, it's easy to put on that happy face and that everything's going great. And at the time, even the Bible tells us like it's fun for a season.
Absolutely.
My season lasted a little bit longer than others because I was able to afford the lifestyle that I was living, so.
Addiction is a long road. For you, it lasted over 20 years. What were some of the hardest moments during that 20 years?
Absolutely. So kind of going back to the time when I couldn't hide it from my family anymore, when the law enforcement intervened, right? So whenever I started catching possession charges, multiple DUIs, that's when, the people that held you on such a high regard and knew what your potential was because they had seen it at times in your life, to kind of see you at your lowest, that was really hard. That was really hard. And really just letting down those that cared the most about me, letting them down. That was probably the hardest part. Because when you first start doing a little jail time, yeah, it's tough, but it gets scary when it gets comfortable. When it's almost like, yeah, I might violate my probation again, but you know what? Maybe I do need to go sit down for a little bit. Having that mindset like it's not that bad, that's when you're in a scary place. Because then you kind of go around with reckless abandon, right? Like you don't really care what the repercussions or consequences are. So definitely that. Just health-wise, my drug addiction did escalate at times into methamphetamine, and then went to fentanyl for a little bit. I've had 4 accidental overdoses. And so just health-wise, I still have consequences today with my body, my mind, when it comes to all the drug use that I've done over the years. So definitely those 2 things is kind of sticks out what's been the hardest over the 20 years.
Yeah. One of the things you just said about when jail gets comfortable, it's scary.
Yes.
I will say that as a teacher for 20 plus years, one of the saddest things for me was when I would talk to 4th or 5th graders who were growing up with parents or who were in jail, and that was normal for their family. And they would visit the jail every week to go see dad or mom or whoever, and you would see them kind of headed down the same path of like stealing things and doing things, and try to have that conversation with them of, you know where this is headed, and them say to me, jail's not a big deal to me. Like that's where my mom is, that's where my dad is, and it's just tragic to me.
Yeah.
But when you said that, that's what resonated me. It's like just the comfort of that. It's mind-boggling to me, because I remember having to go to the jail when we were going through our adoption process and having to do some paperwork there, and it was terrifying to me as an adult. And I was there one day when this young mom brought her teenager in, I think to scare him to death because he was giving her problems, and I was scared to death, and I think I was more scared than the teenager. So I'm thinking, for it to get comfortable, or like even for people who were really longing for jail, honestly, like just get a break from the life that they're living, or
like you said,
or the family members. Well, at least I know you're safe in there. Like when you hear that, like you're thinking of like all this running around that I'm doing on these streets, and this life that I'm living. Like it doesn't just affect you. You had my biological mom. Luckily, God's restored that relationship. Me and her have a good relationship today. But I know even before my nanny passed, there were times where they talked about, well, at least we know you're safe in there, and at the time it didn't really, but like looking back now, it breaks my heart to know the sleepless nights that I caused them, the stress. And so, it's because that's also something too, when I was thinking about things that over the 20 years is just the path of destruction that I left. Like the ones I hurt the most are the ones that loved me the most, right? Like those are the ones that I was able to take advantage of. Those are the ones I was able to manipulate to feed my addiction. It's the ones that you hurt the most are the ones that are closest to you, and so that's, looking back, that's something that I have to pray a lot about, because the enemy loves to get in there and say, guilt you and shame you, because it is hard, whenever you look back over your past, and it's not the ideal past, right? Like there's a lot of destruction that you left behind. So
you had said to us before the podcast, one of the things that you said when you shared with us was God sat you down through incarceration.
Yes.
Several times, and you've alluded to that already, but that's a powerful phrase. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone use it exactly like that. Those are powerful words to me. God sits me down sometimes too. But share what you mean by that God sat you down through incarceration.
Yeah. So this whole time, I was saved when I was 11. But looking back, like I knew God, but I didn't know God, right? Like it was almost like a checklist. And I'm not going to even put that off on the church I was a part of, but it was almost just like, once you get saved, just come to church, don't cuss, don't fight with people.
The do's and don'ts.
The do's and don'ts, right?
The list.
Yeah, exactly. Check the list and you're good, right?
Yeah.
We never
That's
really.
a very common thing.
Yeah, it is.
I hear that so many of our guests have shared that struggle with having always known Jesus. I mean, or known of Jesus, but like realizing that they're struggling with I don't really know Jesus.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I know about Jesus and I know he loves me and I'd say I love him, but I'm not really been changed by it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So. Yeah. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Those things. So what I mean by being sat down is I love distractions. I have my whole life, right? And that's something I have to deal with today. And so when you're
unpack that a little bit for us. What do you mean you love distractions and you stuff?
Because over the years, if I was distracted by something, I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to actually feel what I was feeling. Okay. I didn't have to deal with my problems, right? So I was always the guy in the group that people would come to for advice and suggestions in certain situations. And I've always been told I'm really good at giving that. But don't ask me to do those things, right? Exactly.
I'm gonna do it.
Exactly. I can help you out and and give you what I think would be sound advice, but don't look at my walk because it's not going to match, right? That's how it was for so many years. And so yeah, distractions it's just a good way of not dealing with a problem like you should, right? And being uncomfortable, right? Comfort was always a big thing for me. I like to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on this side of things, I know that true growth comes from being uncomfortable, right? So it just flips everything on its head.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he sat me down through incarceration, it was pretty much hey, I've been talking to you this whole time. Now I want you to be still and hear my voice. And those were the times that I could actually hear a voice, that he would speak through me, through dreams, through other people that are incarcerated. Even this last time, I don't want to jump ahead too far, but I remember being like, this is it, Lord, I'm ready to live for you. And I had a window, not all cells had a window, so I had the luxury one, right? I had the suite. And I looked outside and they just changed a billboard, and it was one of those truth billboards that you see around, right?
Yeah.
And it was evidence of God, and it's a baby on there, right? And I was just like, okay, God, I see you. You know what I mean? It was just little things like that he's like, see what happens whenever you can just sit down and put me first. Yeah. That was the biggest thing. I always put myself first for so many years. Put me first and see what I'm trying to tell you, And so that's what I mean by setting me down is it took away everything, when you're sitting in a cell by yourself, it's you and you, right? You have to finally get to know you, and also being clean and sober in there, you really learn, what that sounds like, what that looks like. And also it was a great time to read.
Yeah.
So I got my Bible every time I got incarcerated. The times before, I would do good for a while, but I still never made him my main priority.
Sure.
So sooner or later I would always stumble back, because I was doing the math today, and I think it was something off and on 6 years of my life I've been incarcerated. Yeah.
So, what was your longest?
A year.
A year.
Yeah, that was this last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so to unpack the last time, because you said that was different. Something changed for you during that time. And what was different, and what do you think made that difference, and what led to that moment that you're talking about, that moment at full surrender? It's going to be different.
Absolutely. So I'd read the Bible, but I never really studied the Bible. So luckily there were programs in jail. Finally, that was something that's not been a part of the jail system in McMinnville for a long time. So people would come in and do Celebrate Recovery. Obviously the pastors that would come in would minister to us as well. That's why jail ministry holds a special place to me, because that's a major catalyst for where I'm at today, is the guys coming into the jail. So I started studying the Bible. I started having revelations. Okay. I started seeing things that he wanted me to see, and it just, when that thing comes to life, it changes your whole perspective. It's not just a book anymore.
Yeah.
Right. It's a roadmap.
Yeah.
And this is how I want you to live your life, and this is what I expect of you, and this is how I'm going to treat you, and just kind of looking back, having that father figure I never really had, that was big for me. I had a grandpa, great guy, but he was just not it was kind of, me and my name were very close, but he was just kind of the stern, didn't speak a lot. You know, I respected the man, had a great work ethic, but we never really built a true relationship. You know, so
a role model, a mentor type.
Yeah. And so that was something too. So yeah, I finally hit my knees and probably wept for the first time praying when I was in jail. And for the ones out there that's ever been incarcerated, you don't show your emotions in jail. So it was another hard thing too. I had a cellie at the time, and I remember just having a Bible study, and actually I think I was reading about Joseph and just everything that he went through and that he still stayed faithful, you know. And I'm like, man, I want that kind of faith. I want that kind of faith. And I heard it plain as day. It's like, you can have that. You can have that. And so that's when I was like, I'm whatever you want from me, I'll do.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I love how God works, because in that this last stint in jail, I'd already had plans. I'd done my time. I didn't have to be furloughed anywhere, but I was going to go to a halfway house, and I think it was faith-based. I'm not really sure, but God brought a guy into my cell 2 weeks before I was getting out, and he came from that one. And he was like, yeah, there's drug use all over the place. Like, people are getting high there. Like, you don't want to go there. I was like, okay, cool. So I started praying into it, and I kept hearing, Be the Bush. Be the Bush. So I put an application the next day.
And how did you know about Be the Bush? Were they in the jail or?
So the pastors that come into the jail, I mentioned it, you know, like months prior.
Yeah.
But every time I kept praying, like, that's the place that kept laying on my heart, you know, because everybody talks about how strict it is. You know, like, you don't want to go there. They don't let you smoke cigarettes. They don't, you know, you don't get a job till your third phase, which is 8 months in. Like, all these things and I'm like, I kept thinking, I was like, I've done other programs. Like, this is the one that's for me. I need the most strict. I need the strictest one. And so when everybody else was saying, yeah, I probably wouldn't do it, I was following that mindset of like, let me do the opposite of what I want to do. Right. Let me listen to him.
It's easy.
Yes.
You talk about the comfort, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what led me there. And what was crazy is the Josh Cantrell that I mentioned earlier, his cousin was in there, and he's the only one. He was like, bro, you need to go there. Like, he had stayed a few weeks. He had some health issues, so he had to leave. But he was like, it's beautiful out there. You'll like it. He said it's the real deal. So yeah.
And just to think, one of the things, every story I hear, it reminds me, and it just encourages my own heart. But like, when you think about your story of the people that God puts in place or the opportunities that he gives you, like, it's such evidence of his grace toward us.
Absolutely.
Like, those weren't casual conversations. Those weren't happenstance. Like, the fact that the Lord loved you so much that he would put the people there that would speak that into your life and point you in this direction. Like, how can we ever wonder? Does he care about us? Does he love us? You know, it's not just divine appointments.
Absolutely. There are no coincidences in the kingdom. And I'm glad you touched on that is, so there's a tent revival in McMinnville going on right now. So we went up there a couple times with the guys, and one of the guys that ministered to the jail was there. I don't think he knew me personally. But so I just felt led to go talk to him and just like, hey man, I want to thank you for being obedient. He would come in, and every time he would do an a cappella version of Thief by Third Day. Dude has an amazing voice, but it was just always like, it's just a good reminder of like, no matter what you've done, he still wants you. You know, he still loves me enough to die for me. Like, it was just a love that I'd never known before. Right. So, time for me to get emotional. But so I went up to the guy, and he's like, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that tonight, you know. And that was just the Holy Spirit telling me, you know what, I need you to go thank this person for the time that they commit to that. And he's like, well, I remember your name, but I don't remember your face. And I was like, well, I've gotten a little bit away since then. That's what happens when you get in a good program that eats well. You got some weight. You know? So, but
the drugs are out of your system.
Yes.
You're healthy.
Yeah, that's right. And but he started crying, and he was just like, man, you have no idea how much that means to me. I'm so glad you shared that with me. And I was like, it's a different feeling whenever you're in tune with the Spirit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do it on your own anymore. Like, you have somebody that's going to help guide you, you know. And I think it's been vital in my walk so far is knowing what that voice is like. Because for me, sometimes it sounds the same, right? So I do have to test that, because it sounds the same in my head, but it's not always from the same.
Right.
You know, so I have to be careful with that.
Yeah. So how do you, what is like, how do you do that yourself? How do you discern that? What are some things that I think that others would need to hear, that you can't just go with everything you feel or even everything you think, right? And I think that's an important thing for us to realize is even the enemy will try to mask his voice as light and make it sound appealing or good. And he takes everything that the Lord has said and he just tweaks it just enough, puts a spin on it, just like he did in the garden. Just spins it a little bit or makes us question what the Lord's voice is. So what does that look like for you? What does that discipline look like?
Because he is the great imitator, right?
Yeah.
He's the imitator.
Yeah.
So for me, it really boils down to like, so is this something that's going to improve my spiritual life, or is this something that's not going to improve it, right? Is this something that is going to improve my health? Is this something, it really kind of boils down to what's the outcome? So I played the tape, like AA loves to say, I played the tape all the way through, which is what I do now. So I don't just make these impulse decisions. I try to play it out to see what the end result's going to be. And if that's something that I know doesn't line up with my walk with Christ, then I need to do the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Because also, even with like a breakthrough in my worship happened probably here the last few months, you know, I'll raise my hand and I'll sing, but like as for like getting on your face during a worship service, right? Like that's something I've never done before. And so I'm sitting there praising and worshiping, and I had seen some people go up front, then I see somebody laid out over here on their face just praying, and I was like, man, then he's like, can you believe they're doing that from everybody? Like, what are they thinking? So when I heard that, I was like, I need to get on my face and start praying. And that's exactly what I did. And I had such a breakthrough from that. So just kind of doing the opposite of things in that situation. Yeah. Whenever you hear that voice, you're like, well, God wouldn't tell me not to do that. You know what I mean? He wants me to worship freely. And so that would be something that's not coming from him. So also just kind of seeing what the end result is and seeing, you know, if that's the right voice or not. So, but it is still, it's a struggle.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, because that's some of the more major things, but there's some minor things that maybe don't have a direct consequence.
Sure.
That you really just have to test that. You know, you have to test what's being said and looking at the benefit from it, so to speak.
I think about the passage of scripture that says, you know, talks to taking every thought captive. And I think that's part of it. It's like we take it captive to be able to like really kind of go through that filtering process of like, is this every thought we take captive and we hold it against, is it from the flesh or is it from the spirit?
Yes.
And when you were talking about, is it good for me spiritually? Is it good for me physically? I think that is really recognizing that God calls us to holiness, and holiness is mind, body, soul, spirit, right? It's not just our spirit. It's like physically, is this making me holy like he's holy? And mentally, emotionally. And I think that's a good way to think about that. Is this going to make me more like him? Is it going to make me holy as he is holy? And just those little disciplines and practices that we have to be intentional about. I mean, I think we have to recognize that every single day we have to be intentional about it.
Yes.
Because it's just easy. And I think even with any place that we slip up and we slide, like addiction, you know, I've said this on here, no one who becomes an addict sets out to be an addict.
Right.
Right? They don't start thinking when you were 16 or whatever, you didn't think, you know what, I think I want to run my life in this way. I think I want to be an addict. That's not where you were headed.
Right.
And even in other ways, like, you know, with adultery or different things, like nobody sets out to like ruin their marriage with adultery probably. It's just like this slow fade that happened. And so if we don't daily keep in check everything we're thinking and the things that we're acting on, are we acting out the emotions of the flesh or, you know, and just really, does it line up with scripture? Does it line up with who God is, who God says I am? And we have to be intentional and disciplined about it because we have an enemy who wants to destroy us.
Yes. And what I've learned too is that it comes from like small compromises. It starts off small.
Good, yeah.
Starts off small, then it ends up into something major, right? And so if you can start dictating those small ones and not making those compromises, I feel like, and that's something that we teach at the ministry, that I learned at the ministry that I'm at, is the fact that, you know, if you start making those small compromises, like not doing your chore or lying about this or that, like it's going to lead out to, no, we're not saying that you're going to go out and drink right away.
Right.
But we do feel like if you still have that kind of behavior, that sooner or later.
Let's go to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good reminder for all of us.
Yeah, it's very good the way you're explaining. Since you've surrendered your life to Jesus, what has life looked like for you and what things have changed and how have they changed?
Okay. It's a great question. Blessing upon blessing so far, and I know you might hear that a lot. But
give us a time frame for a second.
Yeah.
How long ago has that been? Fine.
Okay, so I just celebrated 2 years clean.
Okay, so 2 years.
I just celebrated 2 years clean. Thank you.
It's accomplished.
It is. It's the longest amount of clean time because I got clean about 10 years ago, but it was pretty much just the peace of the courts at the time. So, but it was for like a year. So this is definitely the longest time in my adult life that I've had clean and sober. So I graduated the program in February, and I've been a staff member ever since. So, so living for the Lord for the last year and a half, I would say, because I mean, I'll say 2 years. Because it didn't happen right away when I was incarcerated, but that was my clean date, was getting locked up. But about 3 months in, I would say, is whenever I really started living for the Lord. But so in there, it looked like having Bible studies with other inmates, which is something I, would actually look down on the ones that used to do that. Like there's you find what we call jailhouse Jesus, right? You only find Jesus when you get locked up. You go back out and start living like the devil again. But but no, it's just been, he's opened up doors that I never could open up myself. Being responsible for the lawn care at our ministry which is pretty much our biggest money maker business wise. Being entrusted with that has been a huge thing, and just really being able to know that God's using me to talk to these other guys and speak to these other guys that are coming in the door that don't know what their worth is, don't know their identity as a child of God, doesn't know that it looks bleak right now, but just give it time, So yeah, man, just being able to come do things like this, to be able to share that it's not my story, it's his story, and I try to always give him all the glory for it, because he's been faithful through all the times that I've completely discarded him, pushed him to the side. He's been faithful the entire time. So I'm definitely blessed in that regard.
You mentioned, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about this. You mentioned the ministry.
Yes.
So talk to us about because one of the things we talk about here often, and we ask people to share, is like the importance of community in their walk and in their freedom, in their journey to freedom. So I know that obviously that piece of community has been crucial to me.
Yes.
I would love for our listeners, because someone may be listening that needs to know that there is a program out there that's different than the rest, right?
Yes.
That makes the difference. So I would love for you to just kind of spotlight the ministry that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I love how God works, because God knew what he was doing when he took me to this ministry, got me to this ministry. It's a 12-month discipleship program. We like to emphasize that. Like, this isn't just your normal inpatient rehab. Like, this is a discipleship program. Like, we don't save you. The program don't save you, but we do introduce you to the one that does, so that's something that we try to strive in. And it's we use Teen Challenge curriculum, because the founder, Caleb McCall, who is a spiritual father to me, he's been very, very important to my spiritual walk. He went through Teen Challenge himself, and so he started this up based off that. But yeah, so we pretty much, it's, a lot of people call it a Bible boot camp, and I tell the guys it's all about perspective. There's people that would pay good money to be able to take a year out of their life and just focus on Jesus. Like, we don't ask anything of you. Yes, we do have work therapy.
Sure.
We have days where we try to get you to go out and work a little bit, but we're not there for that. Like, that's not the reason we're there. Like, the reason is we want to introduce you to Jesus and teach you how to study the Bible, learn the Bible, and also teach you how to share this gospel with others, right? Like, to teach the next guy that comes in, and disciple each other. Because that's the one thing we talked about earlier about the church I grew up in. It was a checklist, right? We never really learned how to disciple one another. And I think it's so crucial. I mean, it is crucial. It's what he calls us to do.
Yeah.
So that's what we do there. We believe in the recovered addict. Nothing against those ministries or those programs out there that feel like you have to be in recovery for the rest of your life. We believe that God will deliver you from that.
Set you free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we pretty much set you up where we're going to introduce you to the Lord, but then also teach you, like you were talking about finances earlier, like whenever you're able to get a job, teach you how to tithe, like we make sure you know your tithing, because that was something new to me.
Yeah.
I would drop something in the plate here and there, but it was not a set amount, like the Bible tells us to, right? Like, it wasn't. So yeah, really just, and one thing too to know is it's not drugs or just alcohol. Like, any type of life controlling issue, is this is the place for you, right? So anything that anytime you get your hands on it, just spirals out of control, or something in your life that's just controlling you. We like I said, we introduce you to one that takes care of all the work,
right.
But just the accountability factor, we're big on accountability. It's been very vital in my walk, because I've had opportunities where I could have probably went try to get my own place and go get a job somewhere. And God's like, no, this is,
Right.
I got you here for a reason. Yeah. You know, that might be somewhere down the road,
Yeah.
but he's like, I equipped you this last year to be exactly where you're at. So it's a surreal feeling when you're in the will of God.
Absolutely.
You know, because he's not a God of confusion, right? So when I'm praying into these things and I feel at peace with it, I'm like, okay, great. I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
So it's one of those programs where it doesn't keep you on the a lot of these programs will push you out on the street as soon as you're done, right? Let's get another bed open for somebody else. And this place isn't like that. Like, they will work with you. We still have guys that stay on site that have been there or been graduated over a year.
Yeah.
Right. So just kind of set you up to where when you're ready to leave, that's great, but you don't have to.
Right.
You know?
So the name of the ministry is Be the Bush.
Yes.
So what if someone is listening to this and they are like, you know what? That might be the answer. I've tried everything else, or, you know, I'm just tired. I'm tired of trying to do this on my own. I'm tired of the results I'm getting.
Yes.
How does someone go about finding out about Be the Bush or making contact?
So Adrian Roach is our intake coordinator. I don't know if you can have the number on the link or like.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll have that information there. Just contact him. It's a very simple over the phone interview. We have an entry fee, but most of the guys that come in don't have to pay that. Like, we will cover you. Like, you don't have to have $1 to your name to come in. You don't have to have insurance. You know, we will take you in, clothe you, feed you, and introduce you to Jesus, right? Like, and that's something that for a lot of these guys just means the world. You know, even just the clothing and feeding part, because we do have guys that were homeless before they come in. We have guys out of incarceration, and we have guys that were doing well out there, but then, you know, just stumbled up. You know, maybe the wife was done and was like, you need to change. And we've got guys that come in that situation. So pretty much all walks of life, all types of histories.
All ages?
All ages. Probably our youngest right now is 18. Our oldest is probably in their 50s, you know? So it's just a situation where when you find that many personalities and yet we're able to still get along. Yeah, there are other times that we don't. Absolutely. That's going to happen.
His family not going to
Exactly. Right. But at the end of the day, like, you know, there's brothers there that truly love you, that truly care about your well-being, about your relationship with God. I know it's a saying that I've heard there that really sticks out to me is, people don't really care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And so that's so huge there. Yeah. So.
And also, I think about not just the one who might need that for themselves or maybe for a family member, but obviously it's a ministry. So how is it funded, and how could people who maybe are in the area of the community of Be the Bush could say, hey, this is a ministry I could support and I want to support. So what would that look like? How do people get involved? How can they support? What are some tangible ways that they could make a difference in that community?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a website. It's bethebushministries.com. You can financially sow seed there. One of the big things is that we do have about 30 plus partner churches that pour into us. And then we also have, that's the one thing, we're not state funded, right? So we make our own way. Well, God makes a way. Let's back up. Right. God makes a way. We're just willing vessels. So we do have some businesses. We have which the one thing I'm kind of over is the Bush Boys Lawn Care. We have a moving company, a junk removal. So there's ways like that we help provide for the ministry. But you could, donate something online. We have pastors in the area that donate their time. So we have 2 devotions a day, one in the morning, one at night. And so we have people from outside that come in and do those with us, which is very huge because it's all denominations. So if we agree on, the Trinity, that, that God sent His Son, and, if we can agree on that, the rest of it's secondary. Excuse me. But yeah, so online, you can always reach out to us. We're in the Normandy Square. You can always stop by and just, see what you're sewing into.
That's thankful God provided you guys in that space. I know that was a journey to get the location.
It was. Yeah, that was before I got there. But yeah, I reckon but that's how God works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would feel free to say and safe to say that our executive director is happy where we're at now instead of where it was going to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, closed doors. That's the lesson God has taught me in the last 10 years of my life is sometimes we see closed doors as punishment or, I don't know, just we question. And God has really shown me, like, Jennifer, if I close the door, It's never about punishment. I close doors to protect you or provide for you.
Absolutely.
I'm protecting you from something you don't need, or I'm providing something better for you. You'll just trust me.
Amen.
So yeah, closed doors are not negative, but it's hard for us sometimes to see that.
Yeah.
As we were talking, I was thinking about you sharing of like your time in jail, and you were sharing how like the things that, seem to be so negative, or but like the verse that kept coming to my mind was actually from Genesis chapter 50, and I was over here searching this as I was talking to you, because the verse that kept coming to my mind was, you intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good.
Genesis 50:20.
Yeah, He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people, and that's the verse that kept coming to my mind. And that verse is in the story of Joseph.
It is.
Right. So
Yes.
yeah, that makes me think about all these things that we think are that the enemy wants to use to harm us.
Yes.
And now you're using what he tried to use to harm you. You're using that to help other people and help them find freedom as well, which is so powerful.
It is. I love how the Holy Spirit works. So even when you prayed earlier, right, you mentioned, well, no, it was meant for evil. And that's a verse that I use all the time. Like Genesis 50:20 is one of my favorite verses. And it's so true. Like what you think was like your lowest moment, right? Like your rock bottom, the actions that you had made during that time that just looking back, you despise that thought of, right? God uses that for his glory. He doesn't waste anything. He does not waste anything. And so he uses that for your story to help reach the ones that's in that same boat, to give them some experience, strength, and hope that like God will bring this out of you. Like we'll bring you out of it, bring you out of Egypt, right? Like he will bring you out of it. And it's not just he brings you out of it, but he continues to, like I said earlier, like bless me beyond measure. I got my license back for the first time in 10 years. Come on, somebody. Bless me with the fee. Just things like that. And I don't want to say a lot of material things, but it's just things that, a lot of people take for granted that they have those things. And God's like, you know what? If you continue to be faithful, I'm going to be faithful.
That's
He's going to be faithful no matter what. But just when that obedience and that surrender comes into play, it's just the whole game opens up, right? Like everything just opens up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think about the love that he has for us, and the cool thing is that he loves us even when we don't love him.
Yes.
Even when we're not pursuing him, or we're taking for granted the things he does for us, and like nothing changes his love for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he through it all, like he loves us and he wants what's good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people who are listening today might be feeling stuck, like stuck in a cycle. Maybe it is a cycle of addiction. It could be a cycle of some other kind of sin pattern. Maybe a cycle of just shame and listening to the voice of the enemy and what the enemy's speaking of them as far as their identity and their purpose. If you could sit down over a white chocolate mocha with those people, just have a conversation with them, what would you want to say to the person who feels like, it's just too far gone? I've messed up. I've hurt too many people. You talked about the people that you've hurt. People, I've hurt too many people. I've made too big of a mess. I've lost too much. It's hopeless. What would you want to say to them?
Well, first and foremost, I would be able to look them in the eye and genuinely say, I've been there. Like I know the hopeless feeling that you're feeling. I was there. Like I thought that my family would be reading an obituary one day, and it would be an overdose of some kind, or a car wreck, or just it was a mindset of like this is my life, and this is how I'm going to be the rest of my life. And that's exactly where the enemy wants us to be. He wants us to think that there is no way out, that there is no hope, right? And but I would be able to bring the message that there is, and let me introduce you to him, and just to be able to share that I was in that same place of thinking I had to get cleaned up, right? Like I knew to get to church, I knew to reach out to godly men and have them pour into me and kind of mentor me. But that was the one thing the enemy the shame and guilt kept me away from the church for so long, and thinking that I needed to clean up before I got there. And that's not how this works. Like you come there to get cleaned up,
Absolutely.
And
we all need a doctor.
Absolutely, yeah.
We all need a doctor. Not those who are well that need a physician.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And also just to really tell them to, sharing that with somebody is probably the biggest step, right? Like I think whenever you lay that on somebody else, God can work with that. Like whenever you keep it in, it makes it hard for the ones that God sends your way to be able to minister to you properly, because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
Rather, they can only go off what you're telling them. So
today I had that conversation with a lady who had reached out to me about her son who's struggling with some mental illness issues and all. And she was saying that she had shared it with a family member at one point, and the family member was like, well, thank you for sharing me. Like, don't tell anybody, you know? No, don't tell anybody else. And I just said, you know, for too long, even in the church, I mean, I thank God that I think we're doing such a better job in the church, in a lot of places anyway, where we're creating a space where people can be authentic and transparent, and we don't have to just put on our church face and act like everything's okay, that we have circles that we sit in where we can say, I'm not okay, I'm struggling.
Yes.
Because for too long, the church, maybe not even intentionally sent that message, but we kind of sent the message of, you got to have it together to be here.
Yeah.
And that's not scriptural, right?
Yeah,
it's not biblical. We need each other, and we need to have space where we can say exactly what you just said to someone.
Yeah.
I'm struggling, and
Yes.
I need help.
Yeah.
I think that's crucial too, and I think it had a lot to do with so my grandfather that I mentioned earlier. That was something where I never ever felt comfortable opening up,
Yeah.
because I looked up to him. Like I said, he's very well to do. Thank God, Preston, Garen's dad, introduced him to Jesus right before he passed away. So that was a huge relief. But like I said, he's one of those that lived a good life.
Sure.
You know, took care of his family, paid his taxes, right? But if anything was ever bothering that guy, you would never know.
Right.
And so that's what I saw is like, okay, that's how we
You got it together.
Exactly. Right. Like, even, you know, and my name was kind of the same way. Like, I remember she would, you know, they had their issues, but you would, like, the people that went to church with us never knew it. She always had a smile on her face, always dressed to the T, like, just, you know, we're good at masking that. And I don't know if it was that generation or what it was, but like, it wasn't okay, especially for a young man or an adult male, to share what was really going on with you. And I feel like that was a stigma that luckily I think it is starting to break off.
Yeah.
To know that there is true healing whenever you're able to share your struggles, and that you're not alone, you know. And I think it's important to make sure you surround yourself with good, godly people that aren't going to gossip, that aren't going to judge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's
You know
exactly
that your stuff's safe with.
absolutely not everybody's qualified for certain information.
Yeah.
There's a class that we actually do at the ministry of talking about like different types of friends, right? Like your acquaintances, your intimate, right? Like not everybody's qualified for certain information. Because I do think it has a lot to do with the people not wanting to share. Just people, you know, went behind their back and they judge.
They used it against them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something, like I said, I agree with you. I think the church has come a long way on the fact of like, please come as you are. You know, I know Pastor Tim talked about that like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
People have the signs, come as you are, but do you really do you live that out? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's who we have to be if we're going to be the church,
Yes.
the true church.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I want to ask you to go back to something that you said a minute ago, because I think this is important. Another one of my friends who has gone through recovery, went through a recovery program, found freedom. She alluded to the same thing at one time when I had a conversation with her, but you talked about, we believe in the recovered addict, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the times I was talking to her about an acquaintance that we both had, and she's discerning and she's lived it, right? And so she picks up on stuff I wouldn't picked up on because she's been there and she's lived it. And I was expressing some concerns with her about a mutual friend. I was like, I'm concerned. And she said to me, she's not fully recovered yet. And she said she thinks she is, but she's not really recovered. She said, and then she was gracious about this too, but she said, she's a part of a ministry to women, similar to Be the Bush. And she said, you know, we teach you can be fully restored and you can be recovered. You don't have to live the rest of your life as an addict. And there is a different mindset there. So unpack that just a little bit, because I think that's crucial. I think this idea of, well, I'm always going to be an addict. I think that the freedom we can find in Jesus is different than that.
Yes, absolutely. Because that was something I believed for a long time. Like, that was my identity, right? So I was in AA and NA years ago, and that's how you introduce yourself every meeting.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much, you know, James talks about the power of the tongue, right? So when you speak that over yourself, that's what you're going to be, you know? And so for many years I thought, well, I'm just, you know, I'm going to make it through each day, one day at a time. because I'm always going to be an addict, you know, and I just got to struggle through this life, you know, having to live like that. And this ministry really opened up my eyes to the fact that, are there suddenlies? Absolutely. There are suddenlies where people get delivered right off the rip, right? But then there's people like me where it wasn't right. You know, I have to go through some stuff first. And I feel like God knew what he was doing. And he knew I needed to feel maybe some more pain than others, right? Some other people feel more pain than me. You know, the rock bottom, everybody's rock bottom's different.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
And so
He knows us better than we know ourselves.
Exactly, right. So we can't look at others like, well, what am I doing wrong to where they, you know, got their new house or, you know, got to move on in their life so much quicker than me, or, you know, I feel like everybody's walk's different. And we have, and it's kind of, you know, the world we're living in, where we like to compare ourselves with each other, is kind of can contribute to that. But it's just the fact that, like, God has a way of, he knows what you need personally to get where you need to be, where he wants you to be. And not only that, but, you know, he knows whose path he's going to put you in front of, or in later on in life, to where you might need to go through that certain pain because that's what they're going through, you know? And it's hard for us to comprehend that when we're going through it. You know, we like to blame him, shake our fist at him, and, you know, think it's why me? But he has a reason and a purpose for it. So I think it's very crucial to, because like I said earlier, like identity crisis, like I'd always put my identity in a job, in a relationship. And when those things were taken away, I didn't know who I was, you know? And so when I finally learned that I am a child of God, right, that's my identity, and that's what I'm going to stand firm on, the whole addict mentality went away. Like it was, God doesn't want me to, that's my story, but that's not who he wants me to be.
Right.
You know,
I'm not that person anymore.
I'm not that person anymore, you know? And I feel like, you know, for some people, they could possibly, you know, I know people that have so far, they live a good life being clean and sober and still thinking they're not an alcoholic. But for me personally, and for the guys we have to ministry, like we don't believe that. Like that's not your identity. That's not who you are. And I feel like that could, you know, when you do have that identity, I think it keeps you from really stepping into your full purpose and calling that God has for you, if you feel like you're something that you're not.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, that's really good. I think that's real important. There's so many things that my mind starts unpacking when I think about that. Just the whole, I think identity is such a crucial part too, because you trace it all the way back to the garden. And that's really what has been our struggle since the beginning in our identity. Are we really going to be who God says we are? Or are we going to live as what the enemy tells us that we are?
Yeah.
And I think it's a crucial decision for us to make, of who does he say I am? And then like even just recognizing that those are things, like you said, those are things you experience. That's something he's brought you through, and he'll use that to reach other people that no one else can reach. That's how he redeems it. That's the part of the Genesis. Not that you're out of like taking what the enemy meant for evil and using it for good. It's just, that's a part of all of that. And that's so important, I think, for us to just really to recognize, like it says, is, you know, he sets us free.
Yes.
He has to give us freedom. Now, whether we'll walk in that freedom is our choice.
Right.
The freedom is ours if we choose to walk in it. And,
absolutely.
And it's a moment by moment choice of surrender and choosing the freedom over the bondage and the captivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so true.
I think that's beautiful about that ministry. I think that's beautiful about you and just sitting here with you. That's how Jesus worked. And when you were talking a few minutes ago about you don't have to have it all together, and Jesus, like Peter, had to go through whatever he went through. Each disciple had his own story because they could reach certain people, and God uses that and redeems it. And it's just beautiful to see that we live in this mentality, you know, it's not like that. And we try to fix people instead of walk with people through these things. So that's beautiful. I just appreciate you sharing that. And I can just see you doing that. I feel that, you know, your presence. So
one of the things you did, and unpack for us, that was part of your life and what it looks like to surrender now.
Yeah.
I know that you're just kind of asking the Lord, what is next for you?
Yes.
So where are you on that?
So it's still an open dialogue with me and God about that. So right now I know he wants me at the ministry. So I know that's first and foremost. I get my local minister's license Sunday. Yeah, so that's exciting. Yeah.
So proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations to you as well for yours. I'm gonna try to make it down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to be a part of
Excited
that.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's really in a place where I don't 100% know, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I know
Best place.
it is, though. I'm telling you, right? Because I have a history of, if I know where I'm going to mess it up. So I think God, I know God knows that. So he's like, just stay faithful. I will show you. Yes, absolutely. Because it was just a thing where God got me to this ministry for a reason. And it's to be exactly where I'm at right now. Where, yes, I'm helping run the lawn care, but it's so much more than that.
Absolutely.
Like having those guys out, we do our own devos on our way to jobs, and we just have that open dialogue throughout the day about what God's doing in our life and the things that we're struggling with, and what are you looking to get restored, and just different things of having that conversation, kind of like we talked about earlier. Like, they know that I care.
You're
Like,
discipling.
absolutely as I was, and so right now I just get plugged into Esalen. It's been exciting. I'm still in that process of just trying to get plugged in there, and also looking into jail ministry in some regard. I've been in conversation with Monica about that. So because, like I said, that's something that's
Sure made a difference in here.
Oh my goodness! Like, I would not be where I'm at if those guys were not obedient and said yes to take time out of their day to come out to a bunch of felons, a bunch of inmates, and spend some time with them and just open up the Word with us, and it just
You've been there. I keep thinking that, like, you've been there.
Yes,
you know it.
yes. I remember that feeling of, like, because once you're locked up, you're like, pretty much you probably burn a lot of bridges, so you're not getting a lot of contact. You're not able to talk to a lot of people. A lot of people may not be putting money on your books, whatever the case may be. But when they come in, like, you're seen for once. Like, you're not the forgotten of society. Like, they come in and they remind you what your identity is and what you're talking about, right? Like, you are a child of God. He loves you no matter what you've done.
Right.
And just
and you haven't messed up too much to sidetrack.
absolutely.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
You're not that big.
Exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So, I mean, so I do see myself doing that at some point. Going back to McMinnville, that's a town that I've got a lot of good memories, a lot of bad memories at, but, like, even just going back to this tent revival and seeing some people, and just to hear, like, hey, I'm proud of you. That's a lot. That means so much.
All for those words, don't we?
Yes.
You were talking about how you call them suddenlies, like people that deliver suddenly.
Yes.
One of our friends shared on the podcast, it was our first guest, Kate, and she talked about how she's like, I know the Lord could have delivered me immediately, and I never would have struggled, but her mindset on that was so beautiful, because she said, I don't think he did, because he was teaching me to be a warrior. He knew I was going to need to be a warrior, and he's like, if he'd have delivered me, I wouldn't have learned to be a warrior.
That's so good.
And he was like, but because it took every moment of every day fighting for it, like he was making me a warrior. And I just, that's a beautiful picture to say, like, the comparison thing, I think, because sometimes we look at someone else's life, and by the way, we just see what appears, but it's always more than that.
Yes.
But comparison is a trap, and we never win. So and I think we have to all guard against that, of getting into that comparison cycle of, because you're on one of two sides. You're either comparing yourself and feeling like you're doing better than them, which is a horrible place to be, by the way.
Yes.
And you don't win there either.
That's right.
Or you're thinking they've got more, they're doing better than me, and you don't win there. So you never win. And that it's our pastor friend used to say comparisons of the devil. It is. It's one of his tactics he uses against.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Just guarding against that, like just resting in who, and I know you're doing this, and I would encourage you, like I've said this to Tabitha and Tyler, as they're following God in obedience. I sat for a long time because I couldn't make sense of the A to Z. And I allowed the enemy to rob me of that. And so now one of the things I share with people who feel a call to ministry, or who know the Lord's showing them things, but it's not like, I don't know the whole picture yet, I don't know the whole story. It's like, just do the next thing you know to do.
Yes.
Say yes to the next thing you know to do. And I believe when we do that, then he gives us the next yes, and the next yes, and the next yes. And we don't have to have all the answers, right?
Right. And how good does that feel to know that? Like,
freeing.
it is so freeing. It is so freeing, because I've been a control person most of my life, right? Like, I wanted to control every little thing, even though that sooner or later, when I knew that I was controlling it, that it would just completely blow up, fall apart. But it's like, almost I'd have a short-term memory problem when it comes to the next situation. Well, let me control this. It'll be better this time, right? But it is super freeing.
Which goes back to the garden too, by the way, the control thing. Like it's been since the beginning of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. It's freeing to just say, Lord, I don't even know. And one of my friends one time, I was like struggling with like surrender and knowing what's next. She's like, the words that she said to me is, sometimes the concrete won't be there till you put your foot down. Like until you're willing, just like the parting of the Red Sea, until you're willing to step, it's not going to part.
Yeah.
So like you've got to be willing to step and just put your foot down, and wherever it is God tells you to do, and just be obedient and going, like, I'm just going to trust it. Like, He's going to show me the next thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you, it's just deep and good.
I love it. Yeah.
What would you want to say to the family who is seeing their loved one in this place?
Don't give up on them. That there is a fine line of enabling. That's probably what kept me in mind for a long time, was I had family that enabled me, not knowing what they were even enabling.
Meaning well, probably.
Yeah, their heart was in the right place.
Right.
Absolutely. Like they, whenever we're in our medicine addiction, addicts and alcoholics, we're the greatest at manipulation, which is witchcraft, right? I believe that manipulation is a form of witchcraft. Like I feel like, it's a fine line, and I feel like if you just pray about it and have some discernment, you'll know where that line's at, to where you just have to love them from a distance. Yeah. Sometimes they need to feel that pain like I felt, because I feel like there's certain ones today where they enable them all the way to death. Like, they, and to have that on one's conscience. And like I said, and not knowing that you're doing a bad thing, right? I just cannot imagine what that would look like. But I feel like, don't stop praying. Praying, I feel like sometimes people are like, well, I've prayed this prayer a million times, prayed a million more.
I think keep asking.
Yes, keep asking. Yes.
Not you keep knocking.
That's right. Amen. And just to, we're already hard on ourselves. I was, and to, it's like I said, it's a fine line on holding them accountable, but doing it with love.
Yeah.
Doing it with love, and not just completely disowning one. Like that's not the way to do it either. And it took me a couple programs before I got it right. Just be persistent with them. Your time is what's going to matter, not your money, right? Your time and your effort, they're going to see that. And just trust that God's going to, he's got a plan.
Yeah.
And that will come to fruition at some point. But yeah, just don't give up on them, because that's the one thing we already feel like cast outs. We already feel like the world's already turned their back on us, especially the ones that have been locked up. Like that's how we feel. Sometimes, like I said, it doesn't have to be financial, but just be there emotionally for them. Right. That's a big thing. Yeah.
Just see them, but human.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What does enabling look like? What are some examples of what enabling looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
like you're saying, some people don't even realize they're enabling.
They don't.
So
they don't.
What does enabling look like?
So it's believing the lies when you probably know it's a lie, right? So, letting them come to you about, I need so-and-so for an electric bill, go pay the bill itself, right? If you want to help them, don't give them the money, expect that they're going to do that. Enable them with a place to stay sometimes, right? Because a lot of people I know I did. I couch surfed for many years there at the end, where I was homeless, but I always had a roof over my head, but it was still, I needed some tough love during that time. Like it allowed my addiction to grow worse. And then no fault of them, obviously, but if they would have said, you know what, you can't stay here, right? Like, and that's probably the hardest thing for, I wish my biological mom would have done that. She was one that I relied on the last few years of my addiction. I wish she would have been a little bit harder, but she looked at it as we were finally starting to bond, because we didn't never have that when I was younger. And so looking back, I could see why she did as much as she did. She knew I had an addiction, and she would help me with pain medication, because I'd lie about my back hurt or my knees hurt, right? Because I do have pain, but I can take care of it with time. You know what I mean? But of course, I would manipulate and lie, and she would think she's doing the right thing, but all she's doing is just feeding my addiction more, and she had no idea. So I had the hard conversations, right? Like that's one suggestion I would give: have the hard conversations, because bailing them out. That's another, I didn't think about that. Bonding them out of jail. you might need to leave them in there for a little bit. Let them.
And that's hard.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any kids of my own, but I can only imagine if I had a kid at the, jail, I'd want to go get them out.
Right.
But luckily, living the life I've lived, I'll know that there might be a certain situation where they need to be bonded out so I can get them into a treatment or whatever the case may be, or there's a situation where they need to sit there and really, feel the consequences of their actions.
Yeah. What I was thinking as you were saying that, when we, like the enabling piece of that, if we're always keeping people from hitting rock bottom, and rock bottom is the only place they're going to find Jesus, they may not ever find Jesus.
Amen. That's so good.
And I think we think we're doing well, but sometimes we're trying to rescue them, and when we do rescue them, we're actually keeping them probably from the ultimate rescue that they need, and that's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Because 100%, that your heart posture is right. Like you're wanting to do the right thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. And I just,
because what if the only place they're going to find Jesus is exactly like you, and you're sitting in a jail cell, and like our friend Katie said, absolutely, I found Jesus. And so sometimes we try to keep them from all those places that maybe that they're very places they need to be,
especially in this new, I won't say climate, but this new, with fentanyl poisoning, right? You just never know. And now, it's in everything. It's not just when they're getting something else, it could be in it, right? Even I know methamphetamine has it now, and I've heard of marijuana having, being laced with fentanyl. You just never know that time that you might have bailed them out and they go try to get high again. That could be their last time,
Right. And maybe even the person they're getting the drugs from don't even know it's in there.
No, they don't, right? Yeah, no. The majority of the ones you're buying from, they don't know where it came from.
No, and that's sad too.
Yeah, it is. Because I like to, Chase Away Fentanyl is another organization that's close to the BTB. Josh Cantrell, he's like a spiritual advisor for them, but it's an organization that opened up where they're handing out free naloxone and Narcan out. His son passed away from fentanyl poison a couple of years ago. His name was Chase, and so that one's close to my heart because it, we're losing these kids way too young.
Tragically.
And I can only imagine if that was around whenever I was growing up, because I would have been like, even a couple of my accidental overdoses, it was it was a pressed Xanax is what I accidentally overdosed on, because it wasn't even a real Xanax, it was fentanyl. So you never know what you're getting. You never know what you're getting.
I think that's a word of wisdom to like young people or anyone, but I think especially young people to just know, I've heard of too many tragic stories where, I know of a couple of young people that it was their first time they were used.
Yes.
And it might not have killed them, but it's messed them up so much mentally and emotionally. Like the trajectory of their life has changed forever.
Yeah.
Even having been a middle school teacher, it's starting younger and younger with even the vapes and stuff. Like, I try to tell kids that I have a voice in their life is you just don't know. Like, they can tell you it's a vape, but you don't know what's in it. You just don't know.
That's right.
And you just can't take that for granted. Because lives are tragically being lost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Matt, we want to thank you for sharing so openly and honestly.
Yes.
Your story is powerful because it reminds us that it's never too late, that God can transform your life at any place, no matter what there is, how far gone or what there is there.
And here's a challenge for you, our listeners. I want you to think about this question. Is there an area of your life that you need to fully surrender to God? Maybe you've been holding something back, or maybe you're in the middle of your own battle with addiction, fear, or shame. Would you trust Him enough today to lay that down?
Today, we hope you've been reminded that your story matters. Sharing your testimony, just like Matt did with us today, can help set someone else free. Don't keep quiet.
And please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share each time you click one of those buttons. You help spread the word about the 1211 podcast. You help other people find freedom as they hear stories of God's goodness and start believing that that can be their story too.
Be sure to join us next week when we'll sit down with someone whose story involves walking away from God and then finding his way back. Our guest climbed to the top of the ladder of success and still found himself longing for more. After years of living with his feet in two places, he found the courage to walk away from all that the world says is necessary for success and to walk fully into the call to ministry. His story will encourage you and make you stop and think about what you're chasing.
Well, friends, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on the 1211 podcast. We hope you'll join us next time. Blessings.